Hello, everybody. November Charlie 4 X-Ray Lima NC4XL, North Carolina for extreme lovers. Oh, I'm not. Just Tom, the darling old man. I'm going to focus for all of our new to ham radio 5 years or newer folks and try to share something that's coming around the corner, so to speak, that you might not be aware of, and incorporate that with club calls. Okay, so that's the direction we're going here. Now, for those old timers that have been around since the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you might be familiar with what we call the solar cycle of every 11 years up and 11 years down, and the bands get quiet and dead, and nobody's around talking to nobody anywhere about anything. And it's like, what happened? It's just the cycle that we go through in amateur radio. When Parks on the Air came about in 2017, it generated a lot of interest. So this down period solar cycle is going to be very interesting to look at because of the extensive amount of activity Parks on the Air has created. 80,000 plus members, 60,000 plus parks, different park entities. And the manufacturers of radio equipment are having a great time selling their product. But all these new hams, and I'm going to say 5 years and newer, may not have experienced a lull in the activity level where it's like, where did everybody go? What happened? Now, please do not confuse that with solar events, CMEs. Okay, I am not referring to that. I am referring to when the band goes up and the band goes down. When the band's at its peak and DX is all over the place on every band at all times of the day to where you can't get across the street with the KW. And you're wondering what happened. It's called the solar cycle. And for those of you that are relatively new, some reading suggestions. Take some time and read about the solar cycle in amateur radio. It will bring you up to date and prepare you. Now, we're very fortunate because of Parks on the Air. They've created the activity levels which keep a lot of us out there in the park and having fun. And when we say out in the park and the bands are bad or the conditions have gotten worse and we're sitting there struggling, trying to get 10 contacts. I've been there and I lost a lens in one of my glasses and I had 9 contacts and I couldn't see the spotting page. Remember, I had to drive home. And the bands weren't that good that day on top of that. And I struggled to get that number 10 so that my activation would be complete. I will not use that word failure because there's no such thing as a failure in Parks on the Air, period. So get that out of your head. It may be incomplete. It may not have been consummated, whatever you want to call it. But the reality is you made X number of contacts to somebody somewhere on the band using either QRP or QRO with your battery with an antenna up in the air or on a tripod, or you had some type of fun. So that was a good activation. Maybe not completed, but get failure out of your mind. It's an opportunity, and the next time you go out, you'll become more prepared. But let's talk about this club call stuff that I'm talking about. You hunters that are at home, or you activators that are not activating, but you're out driving your car, so you're going to be a hunter now, and you have the privilege and permission to utilize club calls. I'm going to share one with you here. November Charlie 4, Papa Oscar. I've been given permission to use it anytime that I am out as a hunter. Okay, as a hunter, unless I'm activating the club call. But I'm not activating the club call. I'm just hunting the activators. So I'm going to give them NC4PO. That might be the one call that makes or breaks an activator from having a incomplete day or a satisfied day the park is activated. And that's why I'm sharing this. Many of you folks have the permission to utilize a club call, but you don't know the value of that club call and how valuable it could be to somebody who's out there struggling to get the park activated. So let's say you give your club call to somebody who's out activating, and it activates the park. After that, that activator is less stressed and they continue on. Your club call could be the gas that goes in the gas tank to get them the next mile down the road. And that's how I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. I'm right now trying to create a list of club calls that are usable in POTA. In other words, these folks that have given me their club call information, I will post it. I will share it. I don't own it, but I'll share it with others so that when you're activating and you hear somebody, maybe you have to ask them for their club call to get you over the hump. I run a lot of numbers, but I don't chase numbers. I chase self. When I go out, I'm not going to go out for 15, 20 minutes because that's just not me. I drive an hour and so forth just to get to a park. So I try to spend my time 4 or 5 hours there, and I run the bands. But anytime I can work a club call and an operator, I want that. The element that I get out of it at the end of the day is it's another contact. Again, I'm not beating anybody but me, myself, and I, period. I'm not trying to be better than anybody else. I'm just trying to go out and have fun. Experience the joy of chatting with people, meeting people, contacting people around the world. And at the end of the day, how many contacts did you make? That's awesome. That's a great day. Because none of us know what the day is going to be like. None of us do when we go out to a park. We don't know what solar events or CME is going to happen. And I've been out there when the band literally died. There was no more. And how many times I've said into the looking at the log, thank God those two had club calls. It made my day. And that's a friend of mine, Stevie, in Italy whiskey too, Mike Juliet, Quebec. Very famous saying that I can hear it every time I say it. You made my day, because we've made contacts across the pond where everybody says the bands are light. And well, if you don't go and don't try, you're not going to get. So if you have a club call and you're authorized to use it as a hunter, I'm not saying activator, as a hunter, share it with that activator. I know deep down they would greatly appreciate it. And I know when I'm out activating, if I work some stations that have a club call, I'm going to work both the calls because I'm going to get this park activated. And because who I am doesn't mean that I'm not ever going to have a incomplete activation. Oh, yes, I can. And I have been there, so very close. And not just once. When you go out, we don't know the condition of propagation. We just get to play with it. If you see me activating my park, with NC4PO. I won't be spotting as NC4XL because I'm running the club call. That's just how I do it, period. The way I read it, that's how I do it. And it works fine for me. Thank you for taking the time. If you have watched this video in its completeness, you hunters, as I said a little moment ago, are the gas that goes in the gas tank for the activators to go out and play in the park. With solar activity going to start going downhill, some of the new activators may not be aware of what might be starting to happen, and not to get in a tizzy about it. It's the cycle. It happens every 11 years, plus or minus a day or two. 70 trees, November, Charlie 4, X-ray Lima. The darling old man in North Carolina, I'm not. I'm just North Carolina for extreme lovers. Now, I said that backward to get you tongued up to see if you're paying attention, but really, I have a club call too. November, Charlie 4, Pota on 73.